So, Mr. Watson, this is my mitosis versus meiosis video, and so I'm going to start off with mitosis first. And to start off mitosis, this is what it is. Mitosis is a part of the cell cycle when replicated chromosomes are separated into two nuclei. And so, to start mitosis, you want to first do interphase. Interphase is where 90% of mitosis happens. It's the phase of the cell cycle in which a typical cell spends most of its life. During this phase, the cell copies its DNA in preparation for mitosis. And so that's up top. And next, we have prophase. And prophase is where the DNA has already been replicated. And so the cell prepares to enter prophase. And so the main occurrences in prophase are the condensation of the chromatin and the disappearance of the nucleolus. And after that, we go into metaphase. Metaphase is where chromosomes are at their second most condensed and coiled stage. And what they're most coiled and condensed in anaphase, but we'll get into that later. And so these chromosomes, carrying genetic information, align in the equator of the cell before being separated into each of the two daughter cells. And next, here we go, anaphase. Anaphase right here, and anaphase is where replicated chromosomes are split and the daughter chromatids are moved to opposite poles of the cell. Chromosomes are also reach their overall maximum condensation in late anaphase to help chromosome segregation and the reformation of the nucleus. And lastly, we have telophase. Telophase is where two daughter nuclei form in each daughter cell. And phosphates dephosphorylate the nucleus lamins at the end of the cells, forming nuclear envelope around each nucleus from the components of the parent cell's nuclear envelope. And so while a lot of the stuff I might have said sounded complicated, here's a little diagram that I found online that can kind of make this a little bit easier. So we're going to follow from left to right. And you guys can pause the video if needed be. But that's basically what's happening. And so if you guys can look through this diagram while I'm talking, it'll better your understanding of what I said earlier. I'm sorry, I kind of stuttered there for a second. And so here are the other phases. You guys can read this. I could read for you, but I'm sure you guys can read. So now we're going to get into meiosis. And meiosis is a specialized type of cell division that reduces the chromosome number by half, creating 4 haploid cells, each genetically distinct from the parent cell that gave rise to them. So usually we deal with binary fission in prokaryotes, which is asexual production, or any other types of asexual reproduction. But the benefit of meiosis is that it increases genetic variation, which can help species live longer and pass down desirable traits that leads to survival of the fittest, which obviously governs our whole ecosystem. And so let's keep on going. So before meiosis even begins, during the S phase of the cell, which is synthesis, we learned that in the interphase phase in mitosis. During the S phase of the cell, the DNA of each chromosome is replicated so that it consists of 2 identical sister chromatids, which remain held together through sister chromatid cohesion, and so they stick together basically. So immediately following DNA replication, meiotic cells enter a prolonged G2-like stage known as meiotic prophase. During this time, homologous chromosomes pair with each other and undergo genetic recombination, a programmed process in which DNA is cut and then repaired, which allows them to exchange some of their genetic information. A subset of recombination events results in crossover, which create physical links known as chiasmata. And so that was meiosis 1. Now during meiosis 2, the cohesion between sister chromatids is released and they segregate from one another as during mitosis. So because the number of chromosomes is half during meiosis, gametes can fuse. And so gametes are sex cells basically, and they fuse to form a diploid zygote. So the zygote is basically the baby of the two gametes, and that contains 2 copies of each chromosome. So a maternal copy and a paternal copy, mom and dad, and so this alternates the cycle of meiosis, and fertilization enables sexual reproduction, which we stated earlier in meiosis increases genetic variation. And so with each successive generation maintaining the same number of chromosomes. So that's basically the all in all for meiosis. However, if you guys didn't understand what I said, which probably happened, here's a little diagram again, like we did in mitosis. I'll go slowly through it, and so we're gonna go from left to right from the top, and you can just follow that and see the pictures as it's going and happening, and that's basically going through meiosis right there for you. That's it, and thank you.